please. Let's say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Seated. Public Accounts Committee will now resume, and we have this members. We will have this very special session, hoping that it will involve other donor partners and the IFIs, the international financial institutions. But up till this morning, we are so grateful that we've been able to have a response from the Acting High Commissioner of the Australian High Commission. Thank you so much, Excellency, for responding to the request for you to come forward and be part of these proceedings. As you know, that the Public Accounts Committee is required under the Constitution subsidiary regulation, which is the standing order, to inquire into the estimate that has been submitted in any supply or appropriation bill. So we do this task annually, which means that Parliament is actually involved in the formulation of the budget, unlike in your jurisdiction, in which the Treasurer is given the liberty to actually, I think we have JICA?
Yes, JICA. Yeah.
Okay, please, thank you. Take a card, Blahem, and then, Representative from JICA, welcome to this session. We have just opened our session. And let me also, the earlier remarks that I made in welcoming the His Excellency, the Acting High Commissioner, on behalf of the Public Accounts Committee, please welcome to the hearing. This is an annual exercise that is normally being done under the standing orders of our national constitution, where the Public Accounts Committee carry out an inquiry into the estimate. So I was just saying that it is pretty a different situation here. Like in Australia, you would have the Treasurer would have the liberty to present the supply bill to Parliament, and Parliament and all other organs of the legislature would do their watch, monitoring and inquiry through various avenues, including the Senate. But I think it is just appropriate that both of you are here, because you have carried quite a heavy load of the donor partners, funding into the national development programs in Solomon Islands, ever since this country gained independence. So and also triggering some investment in the public sector as well as private sector. So I think it is very much appropriate that you are here so that we can just discuss some of these matters. I'll present kind of a statement of case of what is it that we've asked that to have consultation with you on. It's a fairly simple exercise. It's all about how do we comply with the requirements of the constitution of a country, because that is always a requirement of all donor partners that we do things lawfully, constitutionally. So that is the point that the Public Accounts Committee would wanted to explore with you. Why is that we sort of shifted away from the constitutional realm in the where that resources that have somehow, received some generous, response from our donor partners, but of the appropriation space and are placed in the non-appropriation space. And, as you would know that reporting on matters of development is a very, very important exercise. It is so important for even your own country as donor government and also your nominated donor agencies. You have always been the mainstay of the OECD. You are members of the OECD, and you quite rightly have that title throughout the world as a donor in that way. Of course, we have some of our partners, most recently, entered this space, our jurisdiction, but I think some of them are still yet to be a fully pledged OECD member. I think they are still observers and still retaining the observer status. But for Australia and Japan, you have always been, the main club of the OECD. And when I say that comment, I'm sure that all of you will appreciate that. That's why you are a donor, like that. You are not a delivery agency. You are a donor partner. I'm sure that your delivery agency is in JICA, just like in Australia it would be, is it now OZ or what is it called now? You have gone through DFAT, isn't it?
Yes.
Sure. So you have moved away from the OZ, now you're into the departmental delivery pathway. So in saying that, here is this least developed country that you have willingly, and you have never been, shied away, being our committed partner, ever since we gained independence up till now, that your commitment has always been there, like that, yeah? So we are saying to you that, with all of that, what has gone wrong is to, and we have now ended up in a situation where, the resources have now gone off the appropriation pathway, as the Constitution says, our Constitution, and now we have slipped out of that constitutional pathway into the situation that we are having, non-appropriation. In Australia and Japan, if I can say that, you are very much the active player at the international financial institutions level, IMF, the World Bank, and so forth. And I'm sure that you will understand that one of the most important part of ensuring that, countries must always comply with their qualification to be a recipient country is for us to be able to report lawfully the receipts, and that, it must commensurate with, the quality of delivery to our own community, like that. So that is our case. Our case is that, in brief, we have shifted away from the constitutional pathway that our Constitution prescribed, that all monies received by way of grant, loan financing, gifting, of whatever nature, has to go into the consolidated fund, meaning that it has to be appropriated properly. Just look at the situation of your very much, a very developed status. Even if you engage with IMF and the World Bank in the kind of programs that you are engaged with, it will be a requirement that it has to go through your own process of appropriation. So the same is here, because the bulk of the resources that we get is basically at the bilateral level, not so much at the multilateral level. Over the last 20 years, I think, or for 40 or so years of independence, I think the bulk of the resources has always been in the bilateral level. And both of you are very much ranked high in that contribution pathway to our development program. So what we are saying is that we want to engage with you, find a pathway, and if you are to lead, the action, actionable arrangement, that, we can agree on, I'm sure that other donors will also follow. They will also follow. You both have a good heavyweight, muscles, to pull our donors, to be able to save the situation of our country. So, that's on that. And I mean, recently when the IMF, made a publication on, some of the fiscal management issues, facing least developed countries, and also economies in transitions and in the advanced countries. One of the publications that came out this year, I think it was around May, was in the areas of, the fiscal management data, governance and reporting in Solomon Islands. And we have been picked as one of the country that has actually lacked that, for the last, I think the report went back to receive data around, 10 years ago. So, and this is very much the area in which, the period in which yourself, acting High Commissioner, have been heavily engaged in our country. And, I can recall Australia have been, one of the very active, contributor to the IMF, statistics and quantitative capacity building. And some of the reports that came out was actually written by Australian economists in this field, that there is a direct link on reporting to economic growth. So I think there is a compelling case, for us to, discuss why is it that, there is this gap. So that is the case that we are presenting now. And if you look at the development budget, we have a total of around 1-point-something billion sitting on the, the non-appropriated. And last night I was doing some calculation. I think you were around 40%. Australia's funding in itself. Second is World Bank. And then I think, I didn't actually see JICA in there, but I might have missed it. But, just looking at and other UN funded agencies. So that's just on the non-appropriation. The resources available to the 2026 budget, as you know, this year deficit is around 1-point-something billion. Next year is around 1.1 billion. Non-appropriated is around 1.1-something billion as well, like that. So you have the gap in the budget, and then the sitting of the available resources in the non-appropriation. We are not saying to you, pull those resources to fill the gap. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that, how can we comply with the Constitution of Solomon Islands to have these resources into the consolidated fund, and let's manage it together. Find a better arrangement through the appropriation pathway and get a better reporting. Of course, we are not saying that, your responsibility to report back to your taxpayers, is not that important. No, nothing at all. I mean, this message has been around, and we are fully aware. So We want to make the availability of resources through the constitutional process and include them in a better reporting arrangement. I think that's the whole case that we are presenting to you. So it's a very simple one. Huge resources in the non-appropriation in the book. Will you still continue with that position that you have held, that you would want it outside of the appropriation, or you can work on the arrangement to have them all back into the... In fact, this year we have a fair good of resources that has been out of the appropriation last year for this year, that it came in through to the appropriation through the supplementary, which is excellent. But then we thought that that's going to continue, and we slipped back on it. So, Excellency and Representative Jacob, please address the committee as to what is your position on this? Is there any way that we can move forward with getting your very generous support to us back into our appropriation? Please, I'll give you a chance to respond to that. Please, Excellency.
Well, thank you, Chair and honourable members. And can I just say at the outset that Australia is very, very pleased and always happy to talk to members of the Public Accounts Committee and stakeholders across both the government, Parliament and civil society in the private sector. That's fundamentally a key part of how we want and see as the best way of supporting development in Solomon Islands. And it is actually really important that we do have these discussions because, Honourable, as you said, Australia is Solomon Islands' largest development partner, and our development program in Solomon Islands is our third largest program across the globe. It's only PNG and Indonesia that are larger in terms of our support to than Solomon Islands. So we are talking about a substantial commitment, and we do absolutely want to make sure that it is a commitment that is being led and driven by the priorities of the government and the people of Solomon Islands. This financial year, and we work on a slightly different financial year to you, we work on 1 July to 30 June. But our current financial year, our commitment to Solomon Islands is approximately 170 million Australian dollars, or about $1 billion Solomon Island dollars. And a key element, as I said, of the way we do development is absolutely making sure that what we are doing is in line with the priorities of the government of Solomon Islands, and the way we are doing our development is in line with the way they see as the best and most effective way of delivering support as well. You might have seen in June this year we launched our Development Partnership Plan, which is a document that publicly commits Australia to how we will work, the ways we will work, and what those priorities are. And successive governments have said to Australia, and we have listened to this, that your top-line priorities are infrastructure, jobs and economic growth. And so they are a really big feature of the support that we provide to the Solomon Islands government. In addition to that, of course, we are still working on areas such as health and education, support to improving public financial management capability, and things like gender equality. But the other thing I would say is that as part of what we have heard from the government is a really strong emphasis on locally led development. So that is local content. So you might have seen in our recent announcement of support to the National Transport Fund, the one criteria Australia had was that support went to only Solomon Islands firms, because we want to boost the capability of the local private sector and create job and economic opportunities. It's also about skills development. It's about community partnerships, so that's the locally led support at the very, very local level, and this year we have supported 108 of those projects, but it is also about on-system support as well. So it is about money that is going into the government to support and the use of government systems. So we do our development in different ways. On the on-system support, for instance, last year, from July 2024 to June 2025, we provided $227 million that went through government systems to support government priorities. And that included $22 million in general budget support, $19 million into the Ministry of Education to support particularly provincial classroom upgrades, $17 million into the Ministry of Health, and then $152 million into infrastructure. So from our conversations with government and the way in which we design our programs, we do a mix. We do some support that goes directly on system, but we also do some support that is off system. And part of that is sometimes because the types of projects we do are either very complicated or the government says to us, this is the sort of thing that would actually be more efficient, more effective if you yourself delivered this rather than through the government. And so a good example of that, Honourable, is the Naha Urban and Birthing Health Centre. That's a $250 million hospital that we're building. It's a very complex build, and it's a type of infrastructure that, in discussion with the Ministry of Health and also the Ministry of Infrastructure, it was agreed that it would be better and more effective if Australia itself project managed that infrastructure. So we do, as much as we can, support locally led development and support on-system support. And you might have seen over the past couple of years that there has been a growing focus of that, and the National Transport Fund is a really good example of that. But there are elements of our support that don't go through government systems because there are a broader range of benefits in doing it separately. Another example is a lot of the technical assistance we provide. So Australia directly funds technical advisors to work in particular ministries to support the government with its own system strengthening. And a good example of that is what we're doing in the Ministry of Finance, where we have people working across revenue collection, strengthening public financial management, supporting the development of the budget, and a range of other tasks. I'd also say that we have a very, very close relationship with the Ministry of Planning, and we try as much as we can to ensure that all of the support we're providing, both directly through government systems but off system, is actually captured as accurately as possible in your budget documents.
Sorry. Yeah, please.
I guess the other point that I would like to make, Chair, is that you mentioned the importance of transparency and accountability for the support we're providing. You mentioned that this was important to your government. It's also very, very important to our government as well. And so that's why, as part of our development partnership plan, we have a range of indicators that we have publicly committed to as a demonstration of whether or not we are performing in terms of our commitments and our agreement with Solomon Islands on our development partnership. So we will publicly disclose how we are performing, and we will hold ourselves to account for that. But also, on the Australian government's website, you can see every single investment that we have in this country. You can see the value of that investment, you can see who the implementing partners are for that investment, and you can see mid-term reviews, and you can see what we're trying to achieve through those. So key message from my perspective, Chair, is that our entire aid program is transparent, is accountable. We absolutely want to make sure that the government is aware of what we're doing, it is in line with the government's priorities, and we are open and always willing to have a discussion about whether or not the settings are right, whether the balance of support that goes through systems or is off system, the level of technical assistance we're providing is in line with what individual ministers and the government more collectively want to see from our support.
Okay. Maybe we should move over to the country rep of JICA. What's your reaction to? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much. I'm
Pull that mic close to you.
Okay, so my name is Kawasaki. I'm a resident representative of JICA Solomon Island office. Thank you very much giving me to have this kind of opportunity. Yeah, this is the first time for me to attend that. So in my own image, before coming to this place, many the donors attending that, So next to my seat, the Australian, the colleagues, high commissioners, only, sitting. So in my image, before coming, ambassador, embassy of Japan also already sitting here. So ambassador, he talk about, Japanese official development assistance policy. Yes, under the policy, JICA, as you already pointed out, JICA is implementing agency. Yeah, so my perception, drastically was changed here, So, what shall I say? We
forgive you.
Yeah, so, I came to Solomon Island about 5 months back. 5 months back. Yeah, so, yes, JICA has been known a contributor to the social development represented by Kirufi Hospital project. This grant aid project is now undergoing, so end of next March it will be completed. Yes, it will be completed. So hospital building itself completed by the end of next March. After that, medical equipment will be installed.
Right.
Yes, by the end of next April. Yeah. So final handing over ceremony will be held end of April or early May, probably. Yeah. So this is one of the example of our cooperation, Japanese ODA assistance. So Japanese government has put high priority in the field of social development. So, of course, not only that, the economic development. Yeah. So forestry sector and the fishery sector. Yeah. Not so much amount of assistance, cooperation, but JICA has cooperated with people on the ground. On the ground, yeah. So yes, being different from the Australian government, every the ministry, Australian government assigned advisor. But the number of JICA Japanese advisors so limited. So only forestry sector and energy sector.
Yes.
Yes. So 2 or 3. Yes, our JICA advisors assigned. So. As you might well know, every year JICA has extended human resource development. Yeah, so longer term and shorter term. So shorter term means, the environment, agriculture, maritime, so various fields, in Japan, government, Solomon Island government officials enjoy attending at a specific training program in Japan. Yeah. So as well as longer term, master degree, doctor degree, about more than 10, government official learning in Japan now. Yeah. So such human resource development definitely is our target. Yeah. So through our cooperation, of course, social development is very, very important, but without economic development, social development cannot be maintained or secured very well. So I think, especially fishery sector and the forestry sector, by fully utilizing local resources, JICA can cooperate with counterparts of Solomon Island. Yeah. So the scale of our cooperation in the coming days might be limited, but we will pleased to contribute to further development, especially economic development. Yeah. So this is my humble request to the Public Accounts Committee members, in order to make the Kilfi Hospital project successful.
Sure.
There is one condition: the maintenance cost should be secured. Maintenance cost, as well as personal assignment. Yes. Yeah. The Ministry of Health and Medical Services has fully agreed to secure the budget for the operation and maintenance cost, approximately 3.7 million Solomon dollars per year. 3.7 million Solomon dollars per year. And additional 16 staff for a smooth operation in 2026. Yes, the cost for the, deploying the new 16 staff member will become 1.9 million Solomon dollars per year. Yes, this is a commitment which JICA Japanese side could get from the ministry. So, but I'm a little bit afraid, after the completion of the Kilfi Hospital, some facility, equipment cannot be fully utilized. We should avoid, without properly assignment of the personnel, special doctor, nurse, etc. Yeah. So this is a humble request to your committee, in order to make this Kilfi Hospital successful. Such a budget, securing such budget and personal, assignment is very, very critical. Yeah. So I hope in the coming budget, ministry will carefully, keep secure the budget for such, the maintenance and operation of the hospital. Yes, that is my humble request to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, country rep of JICA, and to both of you. Thank you for that impressive presentation of the depth and the breadth of your engagement in the country, in various sectors, and including even how you have successfully, delivered the modality that you have adopted, to be able to deliver all these developments to our country. I think that is well appreciated. I think the simple thing that we want to, get some understanding on you is basically how do we account for this in the same way that your government has taken serious, action to you are deployed to our country, to be able to report, get a proper, quality reporting back to your home government. And that is also the same thing that, we think that, it is important for our country as well too. It's simply, how do we account for your assistance through our appropriation process? And I appreciate what you said, Acting High Commissioner, that we decided to have two systems. One is off system, and the other is, what did you say?
On system.
On system.
Yep.
And I think we can trace that in the way that the 2026 budget is being put together. I think the bulk of that 920 million budget support is the on system that you referred to. The off system, that's what I said, almost about 40 or 45% of the what is in the non-appropriation. And this comes to what the JICA rep just mentioned. He's saying that, next year we must make sure that, we put the recurrent operation of Kilofi. And thank you for building also Giza Hospital during my time too. That was the first one, yes, that you built. And then we forgot about the recurrent and the maintenance.
Yes.
And I think it was around, to the tune of the same. And we almost made a mess of it too. So that is also one reason as to why we have ended up with this sort of system. The capital spending of it is not captured in the appropriation. But then when the time comes for the recurrent or the maintenance, it has to be reflected. As you know that over time, you've got to assess what's the implication of that capital investment to the recipient country to maintain it. And it's all, that's the kind of situation that I think we need to understand also, including, the off system that you have delivered. So our concern now is that how can we bring all of us back into the system? And you will still do exactly what you are doing, High Commissioner. You can convince Canberra by saying, look, even if we bring it back into the system, properly recorded, well reported on, a particular years of expenditure and over time, we can still manage it together like that. It's as simple as that. If you look at the large resources that have gone out, it's more than $1 billion. It's basically spent. We cannot capture it in our reporting, we will never capture it in our reporting. Apart from, like in our in this process, probably it will be made mention, and then when this report has to be filed away and shelved somewhere, that's the end of it, like that. So, what would you say to that? Please, Acting Commissioner. Yeah.
So, Chair, thank you. And I'm listening to you, and I've worked in development now for 20 years. And this is the conundrum that development partners, but also governments across the world have every single day and every single year. What is it we are measuring? Is it dollars in, or is it other outcomes? Is it actually development impact? Is it the number of women who have access to wash facilities, the number of kids that can go to school? Monitoring and evaluation and reporting is critical for your government to appreciate and value what we are doing, but also for my government and the taxpayers of Australia to have confidence that the money that we are spending is actually making an impact for you. So this is absolutely something that we are strengthening, and that's part of the reason why the Development Partnership Plan has 35 indicators that we have agreed with the government that try and measure and report on what we are doing and whether it has been successful. We've also started producing documents like this, that this is the Building Together report. This is $5 billion worth of infrastructure support. It actually outlines precisely the infrastructure we have built over that time, so that you can see what that money has actually delivered for the people of Solomon Islands. So part of it is, I guess, the financial, and we capture all of our financial flows into Solomon Islands. The Australian government has a requirement that we report annually as a department and as a portfolio on what we are doing on our budget and where that money goes. But at the country level as well, we are trying to ensure that as much information as we can possibly gather and aggregate across our programs is giving you clear guidance and clear understanding of what the actual results have been. So not just the money that we spend in country, but actually what has that achieved, what has it improved. Some of the areas are a little bit hard. As you would know, Honourable, having a very strong finance background and we've spoken about PFM, it's sometimes hard to capture the value out of technical assistance, but we're doing our best with that. But certainly with the built infrastructure, we can capture how many new community partnership program pieces of infrastructure we've delivered. With the Naha Urban and Health Clinic, we are expecting thousands of additional women will be able to give birth there, which will take a huge amount of pressure off the National Referral Hospital. But I agree with you, this is the sort of transparency that every single donor to Solomon Islands should be providing and should be able to commit to you to provide a series of results across the areas that they're working in. For Australia, we work across all 5 of the Solomon Islands National Development Strategy priority areas, and we are structuring our reporting to show how we are delivering across each and every one of those. In terms of how you reflect the off-budget support in your budgetary papers, always happy to have that conversation. We are very open about the investments we have. When we launched this year, we launched the new health program, we launched the new education program. Both of those have a mix of on-budget support, so sector budget support that goes directly into those ministries, but also has off-budget support that pays for equipment, it pays for technical assistance, but that mix is always open for discussion with the government. And when we do designs for new programs, there is a huge amount of consultation because we want to get it right. We want to be comfortable with the balance of support we're providing in the different ways that we can support it.
Well, thank you for emphasising again, what has been the priority of Canberra, and also, it interests me, when you sort of, in some ways, tend to, oversimplify what is being required of us, in terms of our constitution, which is just merely to record what is being spent in one particular. This kind of a discussion in the development space, and you've been part of it. This is not just merely a reporting of what is coming in a particular year. Assessing an added value to an investment takes a longer period, for you to assess. We don't want to just simply just treat your assistance, in a way that you think that it is just a recording of a particular fiscal year. We want to include that in part of the whole stock of financial spending and assessing the value that it is built into this economy, the link to employment, increase in business services, connecting, the economy and all of that over the long period of time. So the reporting that you're talking about, to Canberra, we would really want it to be part of that too, as an user of that report, for instance. But just for us to think that, we can just have that report as the source of recording, Excellency, I think I want to ask you to just impress on Canberra to change that kind of an impression a bit, because we are not just about having a proper reporting to accept a delivery and a completion of a project. We want to assess all capacity and the resources of the country, not include human as well as the monetary resources. That over time we want to assess how does it build into the building up of this economy. And that gets better reporting on your side as a member of OECD as well too, that you have better reporting that they can assess there, and then it can be reflected on the way that, the value of this economy, increases over time, just like a simple company, where you invest resources into it. So it's a very simple issue. How can we get even the off system into the appropriation? I think the one that you have put into the on system one is there, but how about the off system? Because over time it can show to everyone, all users of it, IFIs and all others, oh yes, these the kind of resources, financial resources that this country has been working on over time, who is involved in it, that has built up something like that. So, yeah, there seems to be differing views over here, High Commissioner. Here you are, you're putting the off-system one. I think this is what you should report on, but the off-system one, we can just only rely on the reports that you have got, and maybe in some ways you're asking us, to be comfortable with whatever that has been delivered. What I am saying is that, our constitution requires that it also has to be recorded in our own, reporting. So, in that reporting arrangement, how can we improve on that? Or what are the fears that you have? I mean, investment in NTF, I think, is an excellent one. Pulling resources into the NTF. But there's also a huge flows that have not been pulled into the appropriation.
Yep.
So, what do you think about that? I mean, look, Solomlan's infrastructure program, that's quite a huge amount of resources, going up to almost about $250 million. It's off system, and therefore non-appropriated. In the case of Solomon Island. But you are convinced that, you should be able to convince Canberra that it will be properly delivered. Can Canberra, appreciate that, that simple concern that we want? Let's have it into the appropriation. We will have it for long-term reporting and assessment of how our economy grows, using, even the reporting arrangements that you have. Such a lovely book. I mean, that's the way to go.
Yep.
But over time, we want to assess too, what's the implication of this kind of an assistance to our country?
So,
please, High Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. I guess from our perspective, I think we're in agreement. We would love to find ways that we can work with the government to better show to the people of Solomon Islands how our development support is being delivered in your country. And I'd also note that, there are other aspects of our relationship that have a major financial impact in Solomon Islands, and a good example is the Pacific Australian Labour Mobility Scheme. Our estimates for this calendar year are that the remittance figures will be significantly higher than the $475 million that the CBSI recorded in 2024. So there are a range of different ways that our partnership and our bilateral relationship are making a tangible impact on the economy. So, Chair, to be clear, it's not to say that we don't want to do that. I think very much we would be happy to. It's just working out the best ways with the government to reflect what we are doing on budget, but also what we are doing off budget in support of your country's development objectives. So if the Ministry of Planning was to come to us and say, as part of our budget development, we'd like to better capture the off-system support you provide, we'd be very happy to have that discussion and try and find a way that we can better show that what that support is doing and what those quantums are. Sometimes it's a little bit complicated. We have different flows of support. So we have a bilateral budget here of about $103 million. And then we have per year, and then that's Australian dollars. And then we have regional support that's about 70. And that includes funds that go through things like the Garvey Institute, some of the regional gender programs,
Sure.
the Global Partnership for Education, the Australia Awards program, we get regional funds. So it is a little bit complicated, but again, rest assured that we are all about transparency. So ultimately, if the government wanted us to work with it to find ways of better representing the, not just the on system, but also the off system that directly supports our development objectives with Solomon Islands, we'd be very happy to do that.
Well, let me just make this final comment, and then I'll give it to others. Please. I'm not too sure about, the content of what you've discussed with planning, but I think this is what we've been pressing with planning, to get the right, content of what you are discussing about the requirements of our Constitution on the appropriation. As simple as that. Requirements of our Constitution on the appropriation. And like what you said, that, you are open to arrangement as to how we can be able to have the off system back into the appropriation. I think that can be done. And I think that's where I believe, we should put a lot of our resources, into finding ways how we can get this appropriation. Technically, it's not about just throwing it into the budget. It is what is the terms used in our own Constitution, just like in the Australian Constitution. It's how you appropriate it. There are systems. But off-system is not in our Constitution. It's never a prescribed concept in our system. You're talking about the labor market. Labor market throughout the world concept has its own win-win situation. It's beyond any political arrangement even. International Labour Organization treaty is very clear on that. It's a win-win situation on where, the resources are demanded. Land and the other capitals are from your side. Our people are basically availing their service, their labor service, to be able to work there. So it's a totally different situation. I know I have been involved in some of the discussions in the early stage of the labor scheme during my time, in Canberra on this. And I want us just to come back to the simple thing. How can we appropriate this off system? And we will be very much willing, to comply with all the reporting arrangements that will be of benefit to you, and it will be of benefit to us. And in 10 or 20 years' time, those that will come after us will turn around and say, yes, it makes a lot of sense, that, this kind of an investment is made. But for now, it is not there. I remember when we were talking about, the residuals from Ramsey, and we have to get into the cash accounting branch. That got recorded in the appropriation. I think something like that will work out very well. Or we could come up with something totally different. That would be my comment now. But members, please, I'm opening it up now, and then please get engaged with our two donor partners. Very heavyweight donor partners, please.
Yes. Thank you. You've exhausted that matter. I want to move to the PALM scheme. Is that right?
The case that I brought this team here is basically the appropriation or the non-appropriated.
Yes. The PALM.
But later on, maybe we can come with the other business, then we can deal with the PALM issue.
Okay. I just want to ask, with regards to the PALM scheme, of course, our Foreign Affairs LMU engages with you on that. And you mentioned 400 and something million remittances that have come in. What's the potential for more growth in the numbers going from our side in the immediate future? And is there data on the total value of the contribution? I think there is some data on the value of the Pacific-wide participants' contribution, but on the Solomon's proportion, do we have data on that, and how much is that contribution to the Australian economy? Thank you.
Thanks, Honourable. First of all, in terms of growth of the PALM scheme or Solomon Islands participation, we have seen over the past few years a steady growth in numbers, and you might recall that earlier this year Solomon Islands hit or exceeded the 10,000 mark for the number of Solomon Islanders who had worked in Australia under the PALM scheme. At the moment, there's just under 5,000 Solomon Islanders currently in Australia working on PALM. In terms of the growth trajectory long term, and I'm not the expert on this, but we did have some meetings with Cabinet during the Pacific Lab Mobility Forum a couple of weeks ago. The key message is that ultimately PALM is a demand-driven program. It's based on what Australian employers are looking for, the extent to which there is a demand-side requirement for workers in Australia. The assessment is that there is still demand, but the level of demand is perhaps not as strong as it was previously. But that's not to say that for individual countries who are participating in the program, their numbers cannot go up relative to other countries. And what I would say about Solomon Islands is that it has already but a growing reputation for providing really highly capable job-ready workers. And that is a testament to the way in which the government has managed its lab mobility unit and ensured that the people in the work-ready pool are genuinely job-ready and a good fit for the different types of sectors that the PALM scheme operates. About 60% of Solomon workers are in the meat processing sector, which is a higher value sector than agriculture. So on average, Solomon workers are making more money under the PALM scheme than other sectors. And in terms of the remittance numbers, on average, and we don't have specific Solomon Islands information, it's about 1,500 Australian dollars per month the average PALM worker is saving per year, and that's why we are seeing that growth in remittances as we've seen more Solomon Islanders move into the scheme and that money is coming back. And we're actively looking at ways that we can reduce the cost of remittances to maximise the value of those savings as they go back to Solomon Islands. The total value of the contribution of the PALM scheme to Australia is a great question, and that has been raised with us previously, and is something that the Australian government is actively undertaking research to better quantify. And as you, Honourable Chair, said, it is absolutely a scheme that benefits both countries. It's a genuine partnership, and we really acknowledge that and want to be clear on the fact that, you know, Australia is receiving a benefit from Solomon Islands workers, but Solomon Islands workers are also receiving a benefit of, you know, on-the-job skills training, obviously the remittances. And the other point that I'd make is that as part of our new skills program that will be launched very shortly, we want to see how more we can both train Solomon Islanders to be job ready to go over to Australia in areas such as meat processing, but then when they come back to Solomon Islands, we support them with further skills development so that they can make an even bigger contribution to the economy and potentially, through the funds they've got, look at creating businesses as well. So it is a part of our partnership that is essentially one of the jewels in our crown, and we're actively looking at how we can further maximise the value both to us but more importantly to the Solomon Islands.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? On the, you were referring to leader reduction on the cost of remittance. How is that done? Through private sector, you know, digital transfers, or
so there's a number of angles to this. We Australia has been actively supporting MSLN. You might know the mobile money app that our telecom is working with. The growth in MSLN has been enormous, and I think now I think it's about 150,000 Solomon Islanders have MSLN accounts. There is work looking at whether that, and I think that's now started, where you can now remit funds using MSLN across borders. There are other providers beyond Western Union that are looking at moving into the remittances area. Western Union does have relatively high rates that it charges for those remittances, and the more competition there is in the marketplace for remittances, the more we'll expect those numbers to go down. So there's a number of areas that we're looking at the moment to try and support workers to have cost-effective, fit-for-purpose ways of remitting funds, including to provincial areas where you have the same level of banking services.
What about other social issues that have been raised by our labour force? Is that something that is being real? I mean, there are quite a number of reports that came out from Australia by the social community organisation watch entities. How can we deal with some of the issues that is now in the public sphere? Is it something that it's going to be left there? I mean, if it goes into the what do you call it? The Commission on Discrimination. Is that something that possibly live it into that to that realm, or what do you think?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I think some of the media reporting is not entirely accurate of the facts on the ground. The rights of Solomon Island workers and protections of those workers are taken very, very seriously. Every single Solomon Islander working in Australia has exactly the same rights as any Australian worker and needs to be treated in the same way. The rate of pay of a Solomon Islander working in Australia is exactly the same rate of pay that any Australian would receive. In addition to the standard statutory rights they have and the rights under law, Australia is also providing wraparound support. So we have supported the Solomon Islands government and other Pacific countries with community liaison officers who are available and regularly tour palm sites to ensure that Solomon workers are being looked after, and if there are any particular concerns, they can raise them with them. And above and beyond that, we have a very extensive pre-deployment briefing process, a number of days where we talk through everything from the responsibilities of employers in Australia, some of the differences culturally of living in Australia, some of the different laws that we have around particularly roads and speed and drink driving and things like that. But then also ways in which workers, if they have concerns, what routes they have to actually seek help and seek redress if there are issues. But from our own data, there's always going to be in any context some bad apples, but by and large the experience for the vast majority of Solomon Islanders working under the PALM scheme is a positive one, and that is part of the reason why we see so many PALM workers wanting to go back and do repeat tours of work where they have been.
Excellent. I mean, it will be the first time that, I'm not sure whether in other Pacific parliamentary jurisdiction that, the Parliament select committees or committees will have the chance to have, specifically, the head of a mission there, to interact with the parliamentary committee on this matter. But I really want to thank you for doing this. And it's, as you know, there are a lot of issues that where the social conditions of our labourers, got caught up with the existing situation in Australia, for instance, to other issues, that you are dealing with in Indonesia, West Papua, and other Asian country. And we don't want to be caught in being overly reported as something that, part of a kind of a same pattern of treatment that is being used by, all our friends and entities in both the public sector and the private sector in Australia. And I think at this point it's good to register this, that, Solomon Islanders have been part of the agricultural development economy of plantation industry of Australia. At least, in Queensland, for instance. And let us get out from this, that all indentured contractual, arrangements of the past. I want you, being here, to be able to lift that image, okay? Lift that image, so that our partnership going forward, especially in this PAM, can get a better value out of it, both in terms of reporting and also in terms of, the immediate, financial and economic benefits to both countries, like that. I know that, in the agriculture and livestock sector, Australia is a leading exporter in the Asia Pacific, okay? And so having our laborers, getting that very little space in that sector, it's a good pride for us, like that. It's a good pride for us. But it has to come with, better win-win, not a win-win situation, it's a beneficial arrangement on both sides, like that. And out of that comes what is got into the throughput, into the budget. These are the benefits of these relations that got fed into our bilateral budgetary. Yeah? And of course, your own state is a primary, extractive industry, leading producer in this part of the world, in the southern hemisphere. And we will always stand with you to feel the kind of a same in the face of climate change, platform globally. Our Prime Minister has just said that, look, if you drop your bid, it will be a great disappointment for, I would say so, my colleague here will say so, all of these guys will say so. We will all share that same message to the whole world, like that. So let's see all of these things, in that context. We are not just an individual entity in that way. And also thinking about, it's only a 3 hours flight from, less than 3 hours flight from, it's even, the distance to Western Australia is much longer than that. It's almost just like flight from Brisbane to Canberra, like that. So think of us in that way. When we ask you, on the initial point that, the statement of case that, I presented to you, let's come back to the Constitution and respect it. That's our humble plea. And through that, we can ask questions like the PAM and all other things, the quality of engagement that we have. So, High Commissioner, that's our plea. And if you, I'm sure that, members of the committee are so grateful that, you open up, to continue further that discussion with the National Planning and the Department of Finance. That would be a good thing. But in this part of the process of our appropriation, Parliament is being part of this formulation process. So we are raising it here, and we will put in our report that, there's room for us to make an improvement going forward into the future. And the size of resources that we are asking to have it appropriated is much totally insignificant to what is going into Papua New Guinea that goes directly into appropriation. And I don't think it is unreasonable for us, to ask that, let these two regions that is very much, so high and dear to your heart, to be part of, this whole approach. Even a fourth of the PNG budget that is a direct budgetary support is appropriated, like that. What has come into Solomon Islands is much lesser than that. You know that. So we are just asking for, over time, let's build a better understanding, get this into the appropriation. I don't think the fiscal year's difference is an issue, because you always have a long-term program to each individual country on a bilateral level. I think that's what I just want to say to you. To our friend from JICA, you have put a very, very important point on the maintenance. Honorable Matiwalesa will make sure that now Honorable Lilo Sa not looking after this from Gizo, but I will make sure that we have that reflected on the maintenance.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Thank you, Chairman.
But let me say this to you too. Initially, you have always been helping us in developing our economic investment infrastructure. You remember the tuna
Tuna,
processing?
salt tuna.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
if any time you want to come back, you must come back.
Of course, why not? Yeah. So,
Because you ran away when last time. No, you went back. You did not run away. You just went back. Yeah. But
yeah, in the history of tuna can, the 1970s, from Okinawa, southernmost region of Japan.
Okinawa,
So, Okinawa. Fisherman is very, good at, the sophisticated techniques,
yeah, pollen line. Pollen line.
That's right, yeah. So some Japanese expert in the field of fishery, such technical transfer from Okinawan fishermen to, Solomon Island as a fisherman, it has taken 20 years. But we definitely did technical transfer.
Sure.
Yes, from Japanese, fishermen to Solomon Island as fishermen.
Sure.
Yes, this is one of the example of our basic cooperation. Yes. So let us continue. So, but in just current, the last Pacific Island Forum, you adopted the Pacific Resilience Facilities. Our Pacific Island Fund. Yeah. So within this fiscal year, so in order to make it realized, members countries, at least 8 countries, including Solomon Islands government, should officially, approve the participation of these important facilities, right, within this year. So after that, Japanese government or JICA is now thinking about new budget support, development, what shall I say? Development policy loan. Development policy loan for strengthening fiscal and economic resilience in Solomon Island. Hopefully, the policy action which has already agreed between both sides, Japanese side and Solomon side, policy matrix, policy action matrix. Every action could be achieved by early next February. Some sort of amount of the money, budget support will be realized. Yes. So hopefully next February. Yeah. So there is about one strict conditions. So actions stipulated in the agreement, both sides should be achieved by early February. So Mr. Dentana, PS of Ministry of Finance, he knows very well about the commitment of Solomon Island side. Anyway, so this is one of the example. New, the future space between both, Japan and Solomon Island. So I mentioned about Pacific resilience facilities. This is very, very important. JICA, Japan, deeply respect your own initiative. Yes. So we are thinking about how JICA should cooperate to, shall I say, jointly such facilities through by, the new concessional loan, like DPL, development, the policy loan. So, yes, so today is this opportunity, very, very precious opportunity for myself, just to making the commitment, constitutional, the stance of the corporation should be continued. Not only that, futures corporations might be coming up.
Thank you.
Yes,
Good.
that is my. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. And I'll give the same to you too, Acting High Commissioner. Any final remarks from you? But before you do that, I just want to say to you that please convey the same message to our other partners, New Zealand, and of course, you have always been our representative in the World Bank, isn't it? You are our executive director representative there, and also I think IMF. So just discuss this through with them, and maybe at your own pace, talk to MD5 and also, this planning, development and finance. How can we better improve the...
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Chair. And once again, on behalf of the Australian Government, really appreciate the opportunity to come before the committee and have an opportunity to talk about our development program. As I said at the start, we genuinely are committed to ensuring that what we are doing is transparent, accessible, and that the government and the people of Solomon Islands, can hold us to account for what we've said we will achieve. On the issue of the support that's not appropriated, just to highlight that we do already add the information to planning in broad terms, in terms of what the value of our investments in the different sectors are and the amount that's on budget. But as listening to you, I've heard you, and we will highlight to the ministry that we've had this discussion. And also just to say that we're always open to look at how we can do better the communication of what we're doing and what it is achieving, because you made the good point about the importance of being able to see not just what it is, but what is the impact of whether it's a road or whether it's a hospital or whatever it is. So it's a point well taken, and once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to come before the committee.
well, thank you so much for those remarks. Members, let's go and say thank you to all.